Alright, today, let's dive into the most disgusting moments from MasterChef, and how about we head straight to Australia for this one, huh?
Record-breaking here.
Alright, so I'm talking about the time when Nick Wilkerman, a guy who was more at home behind a campground cookout kit, decided to ditch the outback and head straight to the big city with one goal: to flaunt his culinary skills. Doesn't even begin to explain it. So Nick strolled into town with his signature woolly hat, making although the sun was blazing outside. But hey, you gotta respect the commitment to fashion, right? And you have to give it to him. The dude was trying to attempt something he'd never done before. He's preparing a dish that could feature in a fine dining restaurant. But he didn't seem to be too concerned about it.
I work as an adventure guide, so I do a lot of rock climbing and hiking work, all that kind of thing. And so a lot of my cooking is done on fires or in camp ovens, on little stoves. So this is all a bit foreign, just going from that kind of thing to the fine dining.
Yeah, well, looks like he was in for a real adventure. But what was he cooking up exactly? Well, listen to it yourself.
What are you cooking today then?
I'm cooking a chicken jolly. Parallel can draw. Did come from the supermarket, this one, I'm happy to say.
Yep, Nick had decided to present what he called chicken jolly, which is basically chicken breast infused with white wine, served with fettuccine, parmesan, avocado, and almonds. Sounds fancy, huh? But here's the kicker, he admitted the chicken came straight from the supermarket. So much for bush cooking, huh? Anyway, Nick was finally ready with his dish, and when he walked in to present it, this is how the judge reacted upon seeing him.
What's with the woolly hat, mate? It's like 30 degrees outside.
Yeah, it keeps the hair out of my eyes. I'm in the middle of a stupid bet so you can grow their hair for the longest.
So what have you got?
Yeah, I don't think that little reply of his made a good impression. Either way, once the introduction was out of the way, the judges were so curious to see him at work that they walked up to his station to get a closer look.
So do you fish? Do you
Try to. I don't. Generally, I'm just the cook.
But just like these guys, they cook and they send people out to go and get stuff.
That's right. Yeah,
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But just when the food critics started grilling him about where he got his ingredients from, you won't believe what he said.
Eating the odd bit of roadkill.
Sorry?
Eating the odd bit of kangaroo being retrieved from the side of a road.
He cannot be serious. I mean, I've never heard anything as absurd as that before. Nick casually dropped the bomb that he'd been known to scavenge kangaroo off the side of the road. Yeah, you heard that right. I mean, like, come on. Room for roadkill at dinner, anyone? The judges' expressions said it all. But, well, they weren't exactly excited to try his dish.
I'm eternally suspicious now of anything that you cook.
You're the food critic.
You guys can have a rock off if you like.
Do we rock off? Actually, paper, rock, scissors it. Do you want it?
Ready?
But wait, it gets better. The judges decide to play a game of rock, paper, scissors to see who had to taste Nick's creation first.
Gary!
Enjoy.
Classic, right? I mean, how many times have you seen this happen on MasterChef? Though maybe honor is overselling it a bit.
Oh, no!
Oh, that must have been on the chicken.
Record-breaking here.
What's that?
I guess Nick forgot to mention that special ingredient he added into his dish. I mean, those unruly locks of his? Despite being tucked under the hat, a strand managed to worm its way out from under there and fell straight into his dish. Classic. When Gary confronted him about the hair, the dude just laughed it off. Sadly for the judges, this particular chicken dish wasn't so jolly after all, huh? But guess what? This next contestant knew exactly what to add, what she didn't know is how much of it. You see, throughout her time on the show, Courtney, the winner of MasterChef Season 5, usually stole the show every time she showed up to cook. However, there was this one notorious episode where she would have crashed and burned, but somehow, and thankfully for her, she managed to stay afloat. But was it luck, or was it something else entirely? In a twist of fate, Iran, the winner of the previous round, bestowed upon Courtney the power to choose her dish for the dreaded pressure test.
Are you going to choose for everyone out there to cook?
I'll choose.
So, what did she go for?
And chose
Donuts. But things were about to take a turn for the worse. Courtney, knowing full well the importance of yeast in the art of donut making, ended up making a rookie mistake. She first instructed everyone to grab some yeast, effectively draining the pantry of this crucial ingredient.
I'm remaking my dough because I forgot to add eggs to it. I have to start over, all over, right now.
No eggs in the dough and no yeast left. Well, hey, at least we can make hardtack or something instead.
No, I'm sorry. I only got the 2.
Do you have any extra yeast? 1 packet, 2 packets?
I don't see any.
I'm basically shouting down the line to anybody that might have yeast, and no one will give me anything.
But wait, the worst was yet to come.
No, no more yeast.
Okay, Francis,
What?
you have the whole kitchen in here. Do you have any extra yeast? I love you. Thank you.
Honestly, Francis, what the hell? You just messed with my plan right now.
Oh, it's Francis.
I'm so grateful.
Francis, sensing Courtney's impending doom, came to the rescue and handed her some yeast. Now, you might be thinking, problem solved, right? Wrong. The burning question remained. Could Courtney salvage this donut disaster and turn it into a culinary masterpiece? Would she be able to whip up a delectable delight despite the odds stacked against her?
So, we asked for a box.
So, here's what happened. Courtney, ever the resilient contestant, rolled up her sleeves and got to work. With a dash of creativity and a sprinkle of determination, she transformed her dire situation into an opportunity to shine. Despite the initial setback, Courtney managed to conjure up a batch of donuts.
Raspberry frosted donut and a chai glaze on the other.
But was she able to whip up the perfect batch? He spat it right out like it was the worst thing he'd ever tasted. Turns out, there was an unforgivable mistake she had committed.
They're salty. That's seriously salty.
I mean, who messes up donuts that bad? But, well, at least Chef Ramsay's reaction was priceless.
Please tell me you didn't put salt in place of sugar.
That is a mistake. I did not purposely put more salt in there.
I can tell you it tastes weird.
Yes.
It's like you've lost your heels, you've lost your mojo. You've peaked. You won the last dessert challenge. Is that you now on the descent?
No, I did hit a large bump. I picked everything up and kept going, and I didn't give up.
You're sliding down the aerial faster than you got up there.
But wait, it gets even crazier. Because when Joe and Graham stepped up, they were in for a salty shock of their own. Can you imagine how embarrassing that must have been?
It's hard for me to love these donuts.
And it's not just the judges, even the other contestants were probably snickering behind their backs. I mean, come on, mistaking salt for sugar? As much as people have bandied out that excuse as being a production team thing on Hell's Kitchen, I haven't heard the same from MasterChef, so this one's entirely on her.
Raspberry and blood orange icing.
How'd you let the salt slip?
It had to have happened when I was just rushing to get the second batch of dough.
It's hard for me to love these donuts. It's hard for me to even like them.
I'm sorry, Chef.
Now, I can never figure how exactly Courtney dodged the bullet that day. In fact, some viewers even think that the judges played favoritism because of which Courtney managed to stay on. And not just stay on, but managed to win the season as well. But, well, not all are as lucky as Courtney. You see, Mark Raffaelli was on a road to ruin of his own making when he stepped into the MasterChef kitchen during season 2. Ranked in the oh-so-glorious 17th place, Mark's time on the show was marked by a series of simple mistakes that ultimately led to his early elimination. And what's more, it wasn't even a major mistake like Courtney's. It was actually pretty petty in the grand scheme of things. So what happened is, in the bustling kitchen of MasterChef, contestants faced the daunting task of creating culinary masterpieces under intense pressure. I know that hardly narrows it down, but still. However, it was the simple errors that made him stumble along the way. As the challenges unfolded, Mark found himself in a whirlwind of elimination rounds.
French or British cuisine?
I have no idea what's in store for us.
Spoiler alert, he chose French. Despite the chaos, Mark managed to secure a safe spot after 2 grueling rounds. It was during one such challenge that Christian, wielding his power from a previous win, selected a dish for the contestants to prepare. The kitchen was a frenzy of activity as Mark hurriedly searched for the required ingredients.
Has anyone seen time?
I have no idea what I'm gonna cook.
Amidst the frantic pace, Graham sensed Mark's determination and held high hopes for him. However, a pivotal moment arrived when the chef questioned Mark's confidence in his dish. It was a moment of truth as Mark, perhaps feeling the weight of the competition, stumbled in his response.
French restaurants?
No.
Okay. So you're kind of flying blind.
Yes.
Okay.
With unwavering determination, Mark presented his creation to the judges. A peppercorn-crusted filet.
Creamy rosemary garlic mashed with a béarnaise sauce.
However, the excitement quickly turned to dismay when Joe discovered a grave error.
Flour?
Unbeknownst to Mark, raw flour had found its way into the mashed potatoes. Yes, raw flour.
There's raw flour in here.
What?
That is a...
It had turned a potentially exquisite dish into a culinary disaster. Seeing this, Chef Ramsay pitched in to express his disappointment.
In cooking and adding flour to a liquid
And nope, he didn't stop there.
is one of them.
I was praying that someone else's dish was worse than mine.
Raw flour in mashed potatoes is deemed a culinary sin, a mistake that should never have been made. And Mark, realizing the gravity of his error, stood in the spotlight of scrutiny.
If someone else's dish was worse than mine, but adding flour to mashed potatoes like that without cooking them down is a big no. Even if someone's dish was worse than mine, they'll have a really good chance of going home.
The tension in the kitchen was palpable as Mark awaited the judge's verdict. Despite the unfortunate mishap, there lingered a glimmer of hope that perhaps Mark's overall performance would outweigh this misstep. However, as the judges deliberated, Mark knew that his fate hung in the balance.
Lord, please, just let me...
In the end, the decision was made. Mark's journey on MasterChef abruptly came to an end.
I should have listened to my instinct and done it the right way. Nevertheless, it was an amazing experience.
The raw flour incident had sealed his fate, and he bid farewell to the competition with a heavy heart. It was a lesson learned in the unforgiving world of culinary arts. Even the simplest of mistakes could lead to a swift exit. Reflecting on his time on MasterChef, Mark admitted that the highs of potential and the lows of mistakes had sculpted him into a better chef, ready to tackle future culinary endeavors with newfound wisdom.
I should have listened to my instinct and done it the right way. Nevertheless, it was an amazing experience, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
As he bid farewell to the MasterChef kitchen, Mark carried with him the lessons learned and the determination to rise above any culinary challenge that came his way. So, here's a question for you. Now that you saw how Courtney and Mark's dish turned out, who do you think deserved a second chance? Are salty donuts better than finding raw flour in the dish? What would your judgment be had you been the judge on MasterChef? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. Meanwhile, let's move on to another epic fail, which sadly was quite painful to watch. Alright, so here's a primer on what to expect next. Each team captain kicked off the culinary chaos by picking a dish to whip up. But here's the twist. Every 15 minutes, a new chef strolled into the kitchen, totally clueless about what exactly was cooking. Now, let's talk about Jared, the mastermind behind the blue team. He strutted in with all the confidence of a seasoned chef and decided on a dish: mussels in a coconut and tomato broth.
Into the pot and I see the broth and think to myself, I definitely want to improve this.
Sounds fancy, right? But here's the genius part. It's not just delicious, it's easy for everyone on the team to wrap their heads around. It was a pretty sound strategy. And as for Jared, let's just say his cooking skills were matched only by his knack for leadership. I mean, I'm sure the judges couldn't wait to see how this recipe would turn out. However, things were about to go spiraling out of control before long. And I don't think anyone, least of all Jared, expected things to go that way. John, the third cook to step up to the plate, didn't quite catch Fiona's relay message. Instead of getting mussels in a coconut and tomato broth like she said, this is how that insane mind of his interpreted what to do next.
His left hand. Is it chocolate?
It was frustrating to watch. You could clearly see that written all over their faces. And boy, did he take that message to heart. In just 15 minutes, yes, you heard that right, 15 measly minutes, John dashed to the pantry like a madman possessed. He was grabbing everything in sight, tossing in a smorgasbord of seafood to try and throw the Hail Mary of the century. But wait, there's more.
Now I'm really freaking out.
In a move that would make even the bravest of chefs break into a sweat, he snagged a block of white chocolate. Why? Because in John's world, apparently, making a veloute out of chocolate was the next big thing that even the judges hadn't put their finger on the pulse of.
What is he doing?
John.
There's a coconut mussel broth.
And not even Marco Pierre White. He sauntered over like a concerned parent about to confront their misbehaving child. And he asked a question that wouldn't be out of place in that context either.
Are you going back to your old habits?
I'm going to keep it simple, so I'm just going to have
White chocolate veloute.
White chocolate veloute and what?
But did John listen? Oh no, he barreled ahead, headfirst into danger, completely oblivious to the fact that he was about to crash and burn.
What are you doing? Told him what the dish was. He's just gone and got new.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, it did. It always seems to, doesn't it? John's cooking frenzy reached a crescendo as he poured his heart and soul into the catastrophe of the century. Meanwhile, the rest of us could only watch in awe and horror, depending on how you take it, as he single-handedly transforms a simple dish of mussels into a culinary calamity of epic proportions.
I know exactly what's going on now. This dish is just beyond complicated. It's going to definitely overwhelm whoever comes next.
Meanwhile, the clock was ticking, and Jared was supposed to lead his squad to victory with this mussel masterpiece. But guess what? When his time was up, it was like a kitchen nightmare there. There were mussels everywhere, half-cooked, half undone, and the counter was cluttered like a hoarder's paradise.
Johnny, what are you doing? Why are you doing a white chocolate velouté with a coconut?
And then came Amy, the fourth cook in line, hoping to salvage the situation. But hold your aprons, folks, because John, the third chef, couldn't even string two words together to explain what the heck he was trying to cook. It was like he was speaking a whole different language.
Lobster and stuff, but what's the watch of
I've added that broth into it, and we're gonna be adding what?
With just 30 minutes left on the clock, things were looking bleak, and no one had a clue what was happening. Fast forward to the end, and it was like a disaster served with a side of humiliation.
I just wanted to hide under a rock. It's good that you followed your instincts.
Too late, John. Too late. Amy and Georgia were left scratching their heads, staring at a pot of culinary catastrophe. And guess what? Team Blue got the boot straight into the elimination round. And there was John on the other side, admitting defeat with a feeble, "I messed up." Well, no kidding, John. Maybe next time, stick to microwave meals. Anyway, if I had a chance, I'd give the same advice to this next contestant, Tracy. You see, Tracy showed really great potential in cooking and big dreams, but things took a really unfortunate turn.
Chef, and unfortunately, I never took that career path. I'm just really like everyone in America who's had a dream.
Tracy, full of determination, walked onto the set, ready to cook her heart out.
The longest walk of my life.
And well, this is what she finally came up with.
I have made for you today a wild mushroom crispy risotto cake with a truffled egg and just some nice upland crisps and some chives on the side topped with Parmesan cheese. Perfect.
It sounded fancy, and Tracy was confident. What's more, she had some sort of a deep connection with food.
So tell her, what does food mean in your life?
I grew up in an Italian household. My grandmother taught me how to cook. And so growing up, loving and learning how to cook, my life, it's really what I'm meant to be doing.
But if you grew up...
Yeah, she couldn't stop thanking her Italian grandmother who taught her how to cook. And as Tracy revealed about her life, the judges were curious to know more.
You have to be strong enough at a young age to get into it and pursue it.
Determined.
Determined, and I was determined.
So you're weak, obviously.
I'm not weak at all, actually. I am very, very strong. I'm gonna cook you the best dish I can possibly cook, get an apron, and damn it, I'm gonna win this competition. This is the opportunity of a life.
But when it came to her dish, all of that confidence fell flat. The judges weren't impressed by the fact that Tracy had added something forbidden in her dish.
Time.
What is that?
This here, it's just some white truffle oil.
White truffle oil?
Yes.
One of the most pungent, ridiculous ingredients ever known to chef.
The sure sign of someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Do you know the truffle?
It was a big mistake indeed. They called her out for cooking like a non-professional and for missing out on the real truffles. Sadly, despite her love for cooking, things took a dark turn for her.
Oils are made by perfumists that have no white truffles in them.
But it's good.
I can't believe you've just done that. I think you've just put your apron up in flames, let me tell you that.
Well, I'm sure nobody saw that coming, least of all Tracy.
Generally, if you go to a restaurant, you see truffle oil on the menu, it's a good reason to run away.
I can smell it from here. It stinks.
But if you ask me, I think the judges went easy on her, because clearly it could have gone a lot worse than this.
The rice cake is delicious. The egg got that richness to it, but the whole thing is knocked out, sadly.
Meanwhile, Tracy was feeling the pressure mounting as the judges tasted her dish. At first, they acknowledged that the risotto cake itself was delicious, but, well, that was the only good thing about the dish.
They're really delicious, but that truffle oil, it really takes over that dish.
Tracy knew she had made a mistake, but she was determined to learn from it.
Mistake.
I know. That is just a mistake, big mistake.
After a few tense moments, the judges were ready with their decision. And what do you know? Graham decided to give her another chance, much to Tracy's relief.
Yes or no?
I'll give you a chance.
Thank you so much.
As Tracy walked away, she knew she had to step up her game. She couldn't afford to make the same mistake again.
Keep cooking.
With renewed determination, Tracy vowed to keep cooking and improve her skills. But next up, here comes one of the youngest contestants on the show, Max Kramer. And this dude found himself in the midst of a pressure test that would put his culinary skills to the ultimate test.
Steaks in there?
About that much.
Okay, in between the 15 crates, what is...
So, what was the challenge? Creating a dessert dish that would impress the judges and secure a sweet spot in the competition. But guess what? Despite being just 18 years old, Max had enough arrogance to eat everyone whole. Throughout the season, his attitude led to several feuds among the contestants, adding an extra layer of tension to the already high-stakes kitchen. Had he spent more energy in perfecting his cooking skills, who knows? His dessert, called Torte du Crepe, wouldn't have ended up being a disaster. Now, given that this ambitious creation consisted of an impressive 15 layers of delicate crepes and luscious cream, Max was confident of sealing a spot in the next round. However, reality struck hard when Chef Ramsay took a bite, and believe me, his reaction was immediate and unfiltered. The disappointment was palpable as Max realized that his dessert had missed the mark by a long shot. But Chef Ramsay wasn't done. To prove his point, he even made Max taste his creation as a form of not-so-sweet punishment. The young contestant's face mirrored the shock and dismay of the judges as he sampled his own dish. Joe and Graham, who joined in the tasting, and couldn't help but laugh at the unfortunate outcome. Max's dessert, which he had been so proud of, turned out to be a complete disaster. The layers of crepes and cream, instead of harmonizing into a delicate treat, clashed in an unsettling way. The texture was off, the flavors didn't blend with each other, and the whole thing was a dessert gone wrong. All it takes is one small mistake to send you home, and this next contestant learned it the hard way. So that's a wrap on today's list of some of the most disgusting moments of all time. Now, which one do you think was the worst of them all? Make sure to let me know in the comments down below. And if you thought the video was crazy, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. And hey, don't forget to check out this next video right here. It's even crazier.